All right, welcome back, everyone. So far in our PMP EVM Mastery series, we've really gotten into the nitty-gritty of the formulas and metrics. But what's the point of knowing the math if you can't use it when things get real? Well, that's exactly what we're doing today in Episode 8. We're going to tackle the classic EVM scenarios that, trust me, you are almost guaranteed to see on your PMP exam. More importantly, we're going to learn how to think our way through them, not just calculate. Ready to dive in? Let's do it.
So what are we going to cover? Simple. First up, I'm giving you a really powerful, super simple framework you can use for any EVM problem. Then, we're jumping right into the messy stuff. What do you actually do when you're behind schedule and over budget? Or what if you're way ahead but you're just burning through cash? We're going to hit all of it, and then we'll wrap up with some absolutely crucial exam tips to make sure you don't fall for those common traps.
Okay, let's talk about the situational test. You might be wondering, why are we dedicating a whole session just to these scenarios? Honestly, because this is what it's all about. This is where the PMP exam really tests if you're just good at memorizing formulas or if you can actually think like a real-world project manager. It's so much more than just the math.
And that's the absolute truth right there. The modern PMP exam, it's a situational interpretation test, not a math test. Look, anyone can plug numbers into a calculator, but a great project manager, they look at the numbers and they see a story unfolding. They can see why the project is in trouble just by looking at the variances. And let me tell you, getting a handle on these scenarios is the difference between just scraping by on the exam and absolutely dominating it.
All right, so how do we do that? Before we just jump into a bunch of different scenarios, we need a system, a universal framework you can lean on every single time, no matter what they throw at you. So let's build that system right now. I'm going to walk you through my golden framework for analysis.
And here it is, the golden 4-step analysis framework. You're going to want to tattoo this on your brain. Seriously. Step 1 is always status, just the facts. What do the numbers tell you? Are we over or under, ahead or behind? Simple. Step 2, root cause. Okay, now we play detective. Why is this happening? You got to dig into the question for clues. Step 3, forecast. What's the future look like? What's our EAC, our estimated completion, telling us? And here's a huge pro tip for you. Pay attention to your TCPI, the 2 Complete Performance Index. If that number creeps up over 1.3, that is a massive red flag. It's basically the project screaming for help, telling you that a small fix isn't going to cut it. And then finally, step 4, recommend. Based on all that, what's the smartest, most proactive thing to do next?
All right, framework in hand, let's put this thing to work. We're going to run through 4 classic project scenarios, the kind you are absolutely going to encounter both on the exam and in your career.
So take a look at this. This is our map for the next few minutes. It's a simple 2x2 matrix, but it tells you everything you need to know about project performance. Think of it like this. On the horizontal axis, you've got your cost. Are you on budget or not? And on the vertical axis, you've got your schedule. Are you on time? This splits our world into 4 quadrants, and each one tells a very different story about what's happening on our project. We're going to visit each one, starting with the one nobody wants to be in. First up, the nightmare scenario. You're in the bottom left quadrant. This is when you are behind schedule and you are over budget. Both your SPI and CPI are less than 1. This is bad. It's usually caused by something like terrible planning or unchecked scope creep. So what do? Well, your best moves are probably to fast-track the critical path, if you can stomach the risk, or you might have to cut some scope. But listen up, here is the #1 exam trap for this scenario. Whatever you do, do not choose to crash the schedule. Why? Crashing means adding resources, which means adding cost, and money is the one thing you absolutely do not have right now.
Okay, let's move on to scenario 2. I call this one buying time with money. Your schedule looks great. Your SPI is over 1. You're ahead of the game. But you're hemorrhaging cash. Your CPI is in the tank. This is a classic sign that you're probably using really expensive resources, or maybe you're paying a ton in overtime. The solution here is pretty logical, right? You have to lower your financial burn rate. You need to stop the bleeding. So you'd look at things like releasing those premium, expensive resources, maybe applying some value engineering to find cheaper ways to do things, or just reallocating your team more effectively.
Now this next one is really interesting. Scenario 3 is the complete opposite. You're saving money, but losing time. Your cost performance is fantastic, your CPI is looking healthy, but you are falling behind schedule. Your SPI is less than 1. What's going on here? Maybe you have a resource shortage or your vendors are just moving at a snail's pace. But here's the cool part. This situation creates a unique opportunity. You actually have a budget surplus. You have extra money you can use to solve your time problem. This is it. This is the one scenario where crashing the schedule by adding more people or using those premium resources or even paying for express shipping, that's the smart strategic move.
And finally, we land on scenario 4, the perfect project. On paper, everything looks amazing. Your CPI and SPI are both right around 1. It's all good, right? Well, maybe. As any seasoned project manager will tell you, a project that looks too perfect is often a huge red flag. Is the data even accurate? Is someone hiding something? Is the risk register up to date? The exam trap here is getting complacent. If you see an option that says do nothing or continue to monitor, it is almost always the wrong answer. A good PM is never passive. The right move is to get proactive, dig deeper, and audit that data.
Okay, you've got the framework. You understand the 4 big scenarios. But knowing it is one thing. Applying it under pressure, with that exam clock ticking down, that's a whole different ballgame. So let's shift gears from theory to pure exam tactics. All right, here is your 5-step playbook for crushing any PMP exam question. Step 1, and I'm telling you this is a total game changer. Read the last sentence of the question first. Always. Know what they're asking for before you get lost in the details. Step 2, if they give you a bunch of raw data, the first thing you do is calculate your SPI and CPI. Get your bearings. Step 3, apply that golden 4-step framework we talked about. Status, root cause, forecast, recommend. Every time. Step 4, scan the answer choices and immediately cross out any passive options. Anything like wait and see or monitor the situation is probably wrong. And finally, step 5, choose the option that is the most proactive and directly attacks the root cause of the problem.
And as you're doing that, you have to keep your eyes peeled for these super common traps. First, and I'm going to say it again because it's that important, never crash the schedule if your CPI is already less than 1. You can't spend your way out of a problem when you're already over budget. Second, don't get SPI and CPI mixed up in the heat of the moment. Just remember, S for schedule is about time, C for cost is about money. Third, if you see a TCPI over 1.3, that's your signal that this project needs a major intervention, probably a rebaselining, not just a little tweak. And lastly, always figure out if the problem is a one-off thing, an anomaly, or if it's a systemic, ongoing issue. That completely changes how you forecast the future.
Okay, you ready? Time for a quick pop quiz to see if this is sinking in. Here's the situation. You're running a $1 million project. You're at the halfway point. Your schedule variance is negative $50,000. Your cost variance is negative $30,000. So the question is, should you bring in a super expensive, high-speed contractor to get things back on track? I'll give you a second to think.
Okay, what's the verdict? The answer is absolutely not. No way. And why? Because your CV is negative 30,000. Your CPI is already less than 1. It's 0.90 to be exact. You're already over budget. Throwing an expensive contractor at this is like pouring gasoline on a fire. It's just going to make the cost problem way, way worse. The smarter plays here would be to look at fast tracking or maybe even reducing the scope.
Whew, we have covered a ton of ground. So let's do a quick final debrief and lock in the most important takeaways from today.
Look, if you walk away with just a few things today, let it be these 4. Number 1, always interpret the data before you act. Understand the story the numbers are telling you. Number 2, that 4-step framework is your best friend. Use it every single time. It will keep you from making panic decisions. Number 3, match your solution to your problem. The big rule here, don't throw money at a project when your CPI is already in the red. And number 4, and this is the big one, the PMP is a judgment test, not a math test. They want to see how you think.
And that is a wrap on episode 8. I hope you're feeling a lot more confident about tackling these scenarios now. In our next episode, we're going to level up and dive into some really advanced EVM techniques and how they integrate with risk management. So if you got some real value out of this today, do me a favor and hit that like button, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next.
Learning reinforcement.
You can memorize every earned value management formula, run the math perfectly, and still fail the PMP exam. The modern PMP exam tests situational interpretation. Success requires looking at word problems and raw variances to identify exactly where a project is losing ground. We will use a 4-step algorithm to identify these variances and bypass the most common exam traps. This diagram maps the 4 states of project health. The vertical axis represents your schedule, ahead on top, behind on the bottom. The horizontal axis tracks your cost, over budget left, under budget right. This is the 4-step analysis framework. Bridging the gap between raw math and corrective action is what separates a correct answer from a common pitfall. Let's apply the framework, starting with Scenario 1, the nightmare project, where everything is failing. Step 1 of the framework is status. In this scenario, your schedule variance is negative, and your SPI is less than 1.0. Your cost variance is also negative, and the CPI is under 1.0. Moving to Step 2, root cause. The text of your exam question will describe severe bottlenecks, poor planning, or unchecked scope creep driving these metrics down. For Steps 3 and 4, you forecast a high estimate at completion. And here is your absolute rule for recommending action. You cannot crash the schedule. Crashing requires paying for extra resources or expedited shipping. A CPI under 1.0 dictates that the project has no funds left to spend. Because the budget constraint forbids crashing, your only PMI-aligned options are to fast-track the critical path if the risk allows, or reduce the project scope. Now consider Scenario 2, known as buying time. The project is moving fast, but it is over budget. Returning to Step 1 of our tracker, you see positive green schedule indicators, alongside negative red cost indicators. The primary root cause in this state is overutilizing premium resources or authorizing excessive overtime. You are forcing speed by burning through your budget. Your recommended action must lower the burn rate. You do this by releasing premium resources early and applying value engineering to reduce costs. Contrast this with Scenario 3, saving money, losing time. Here, the schedule is falling behind, but your budget is intact. Look at the tracker now. The metrics are inverted. You have green indices for cost and red for schedule. Step 2 identifies vendor delays or extreme caution as the root cause, which creates a surplus of funds. When we reach Step 4, crashing the schedule is now a valid option. Because your CPI is positive, you have the financial room to spend that saved money. You can hire premium resources and buy back the lost time. The rarest and trickiest state tested on the exam is Scenario 4, the all-green project. On paper, this dashboard looks stable. The variances are 0, and the indices are exactly 1.0. But as the warning layer suggests, this can often be an illusion. On the PMP exam, these numbers often hide an artificially slow burn rate, or a risk register that hasn't been updated to justify holding the management reserve. When presented with perfect numbers, eliminate any passive exam answers like do nothing. You must conduct a deeper audit of the data to find the hidden risk. Here is a checklist of other specific traps to avoid. Do not confuse your schedule metrics with your cost metrics, and if your TCPI is greater than 1.3, you need a formal baseline change, not a quick patch. Finally, treating a one-time anomaly as a continuous trend will skew your estimate at completion forecast and invalidate your entire analysis. Let's put this into practice. It is time for a situational pop quiz. Read the data on this card. You have a $1 million project that is halfway done. The schedule variance is negative $50,000, and the cost variance is negative $30,000. Is bringing in an expensive contractor the best approach?